Do you feel stuck when you're creating social media strategies for clients? Or do you feel like every time you get a new client, you have to create a new social media strategy that you're starting from scratch? Well, if you're frustrated because either one of those situations apply to you, then keep watching, because in today's video, I am going to solve this very frustrating, very time-consuming, but also very unnecessary problem. All right, hey everybody, it's Kate Buck Jr. I'm the founder and CEO of Social Media Pro, and I have been a social media manager for a decade and a half at this point. I have worked with hundreds of clients from all around the world, and I can tell you about 5 or 6 years ago, I got really frustrated because I knew there must be a better way to create social media strategies than starting over from scratch with every single client newly. And around that same time, I was hired by a content marketing agency to complete social media strategies for their clients. And that agency was just launching, and what happened was both good and bad. We generated 100 clients within a matter of a couple of weeks. And that was because we went to a very large conference and we set up a booth and we onboarded clients where we did their content and social strategies for only $1,000. And a lot of people took us up on that. So I very quickly found myself in a place where I didn't have the luxury of time to think about these strategies and scratch my head and do a lot of research. I had to come up with a system. The system needed to work both for me and the clients to be able to create these strategies quickly, but where I also was confident that they were effective. So the first 10 or so strategies I did took me a very long time, but after a while I started noticing some patterns that I could solve for, and from there I was able to create a template. Now when I teach social media strategy, I teach from that template, which by the way through the years has continued to evolve. It's not the same as the exact one that we used 5 or 6 years ago, but it is similar, and I have iterated on it as new strategies like stories have come out, and now of course short form content. And how does that change the template or the formula for social media strategy that each and every client needs to at least consider when you're doing a social media strategy for them? That leads me to one of my favorite topics, which is the art and the science of marketing. And when do you lean into the science and when do you lean into the art? So first of all, I believe step 1 is always lean into the science. So always start with the best practices that have been tested. Now I teach these in our Social Media Pro class, but these are also things that you can search on any search engine or use YouTube to learn, because everything from how to write a headline to how to set up and design your website or a landing page. You know, there are templates, there are formulas that you can follow, because internet marketing is not new anymore, right? And so that's always the place to start. For example, my good friend Perry Belcher created a headline formula that I use especially when I'm stuck and I don't have a headline magically coming to me. And I just jot down on a notepad or a Google Doc, desired end result or promise in X time or Y, or without Y, guaranteed, or ABC. So in other words, lose 10 pounds in 5 days without being hungry, guaranteed, or well, I'll give you your money back. Now, a lot of people might give you pushback on that formula, but it has the benefit to the reader. It has a time frame, so they know by when they're going to get it. And there's risk reversal in there because you let them know if my formula doesn't work for you, what is the guarantee on it. If you start with that, you can later in step 2 apply the art, okay? And we'll get to that in just a moment. But I have been getting pushback recently, both from my students in Social Media Pro courses and from some of my clients, because these formulas have now been around long enough that people that are in the marketing space have heard them so often that they feel formulaic and they feel too salesy, let's say that. There's a couple things that you need to keep in mind. Unless you're selling to other marketers, they have not heard these formulas and strategies. And so while it might resonate with them like a cadence or a tone of something they've heard before, it's not like most people walking around on earth that are reading your marketing materials have been studying marketing. At least a good percentage of them have not. And so there's not really a concern that they are as familiar with these formulas as you think. Even technology like Jasper AI, which is a tool that you can use that uses algorithms and these formulas and fill in your answers almost like a Mad Lib, right? It's just like a copywriting Mad Lib. Their algorithms are based on these formulas, right? They're using them for a reason because they are time-tested, proven, tried and true best practices that will give you a nice piece of copy that does the job, which is to convert the subscriber. So same for you in your social media strategies with your clients. If you will follow a formula to start, it will break the ice for you. It will speed up the process. And if you're new to social media strategy, it will give you the framework that you need to get started and feel confident that you're delivering clients strategies that will work. Now, step 2, okay, is when you can go back and add the flowery or the fluff or the pretty, or you can make it better or different using the art. This is the part where you can have some creative freedom and some creative liberties to color outside the lines. You can add like adjectives for impactful language. This might be the place where you soften, for instance, and instead of using a call to action, you do something like extend an invitation. As long as the outcome remains the same or the intention of what you're doing remains the same, then at least you'll have one really direct, scripted, formulaic version and another on brand for them. This is also the time where you can start to add in your wildcard ideas. You know, this is where you can add in things that you think might work or things that could work, but you don't have any data to back it up. So all of our data comes in the science part. And then the art part is when we add to it or we take away from it to try to create something that's more unique and put that out into the wild. The problem that comes up for most people is when you get step 1 and 2 reversed and you start with the art and then forget all about or throw the science out the window. The reason this is a problem is because you haven't started with a framework that is known to convert. And so if your first headline out the gate, or, when you lead with a certain campaign and you're going with the art, it's like reinventing the wheel when you already know what works. So from there, often what happens is if it doesn't convert, now you're stepping back into the formula because there you have no way to figure out what you did wrong unless you go to the formula. So this is why it's always best to start with the science and then use split testing to test against your creative changes. The art of marketing is something that you learn over time and you lean into the more you've successfully implemented the science. So as a student of marketing, lean into the science. As you become more masterful, the science will actually become second nature. You won't have to think about it or pull up your formula or your document or your materials or your templates. You'll just know it. And then that's when you can build on top of that with your expertise, with your intuition, with your ideas by making things bigger or different or smaller. And now you'll always have 2 things to split test against. So to recap, in the art and the science of marketing, always lean towards the science first. That way you can always make it better using your skills as a marketing artist, but you are able to do that from a scientific standpoint, because marketing is all about the data, and we follow the data. That's how we know what works, which is why we lean on the science first. Thanks for tuning in to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next week right here on the Social Media Pro YouTube channel.